Welcome to Lesson 3.2, titled Introduction to Geoprocessing Tools. During this video lecture you will learn the basic steps and procedures to solve a geographical or spatial problem, and get to know the main procedures and geoprocessing tools. This introductory lesson focuses mainly on overlay procedures, but also mentions basic pre-analysis tools. The analysis phase is perhaps the quintessence of a geographical information system. Through analysis process, features are transforming into information, and can be used further in the analysis as input data, creating new spatial knowledge. There are 5 steps and procedures to solve a geographical or spatial problem that aim to answer 5 fundamental questions. The first question is, which data are needed? In this first step we need to search the needed data in order to collect, explore, insert and finally manage them in an appropriate way. The second question refers to which coordinate reference system should I use. In the second question we need to choose, assign or transform the data to the appropriate projection system depending of the country's CRS. The third question asks, is there any correction necessary? In most of the cases the answer is yes, both in terms of geometry and in the attribute table. Regarding geometry, topological validation is essential to check and correct geometry that involves identifying relevant features, as well as their attributes and their relationships. In the attribute table, attributes normalization consists of organizing data into tables in such a way that the results of using the database are always unambiguous. The fourth elemental question refers to what is the analysis workflow. Pre-analysis tools and analysis procedures transform data towards information. This means that the description of criteria defines the geoprocessing tools that will be selected. The final question raises the issue of what story I want to say. We need to develop a new product through mapping with appropriate visualization of the produced information in order to tell a story and communicate our work. Each step participates equally and is essential in solving a problem using GIS. The 3 first steps were part of previous modules. In this module we will learn about pre-analysis and analysis tools to solve a spatial problem. At this stage the questions are no longer where it is or what is it, but how and why. The mapping and representation are presented in the next module. During this lesson we will discuss spatial analysis, procedures among layers and the creation of new layers mainly through inclusion and exclusion zones. The main focus is overlay procedures like clip, difference, union, intersection, merge and symmetrical difference. Apart from the overlay tools, this lesson also presents the buffer tool as a basic proximity procedure. Also, there is a short reference to dissolve and multipart to single parts, 2 important geoprocessing tools regarding border management. Keep in mind that all geoprocessing tools can be used in pre-analysis stage to manage and prepare the data for the main analysis. You have 2 possible pathways to access the geoprocessing tools presented during this lesson. The first is through the vector menu. Most of the tools shown in this video and in Lesson 3.3 are located in the geoprocessing tools. The second and most reliable pathway is through the processing toolbox. To access it, you must choose the processing and then toolbox. Different algorithms are provided in QGIS's processing toolbox such as Saga, GDAL and GRASS. Finally, sometimes you have to change the processing options to make sure that QGIS runs smoothly. Let's see a small demonstration on how you can change the QGIS setting for handling invalid features to skip features with invalid geometry. Be mindful of the attribute table after each process. During the processing stage, the database is always linked with the geometry. If you like, you can practice with the data of the following lesson, Lesson 3.3. In the next few slides, we will explore some of the most useful QGIS geoprocessing tools. First, let's see the QGIS tool clip. As its name indicates, it clips a vector layer using the features of an additional polygon layer. Only the parts of the features in the input layer that fall within the polygons of the overlay layer will be added to the output layer. It is similar to intersection tool, and the only difference is that in clip only the input layer attributes are copied. You can watch the demo video to explore how you can run clip tool. The QGIS tool difference extracts features from the input layer that don't fall within the boundaries of the overlay layer. Input layer features that partially overlap the overlay layer features are split along the boundary of those features, and only the portions outside the overlay layer features are retained. Attribute table retains the values of the input layer. If you need some help, check the demo video. Symmetrical Difference tool of QGIS creates a layer containing features from both the input and overlay layers, but with the overlapping areas between the two layers removed. The attribute table of the Symmetrical Difference layer contains attributes and fields from both the input and overlay layers. Check how to run Symmetrical Difference in the demo video. Intersection in QGIS extracts the portions of features from the input layer that overlap features in the overlay layer. Features in the intersection layer are assigned the attributes of the overlapping features from both the input and overlay layers. If you need some help, watch the demo video for intersection. The Union QGIS algorithm checks for overlaps between features within the input layer and creates separate features for overlapping and non-overlapping parts. The area of overlap will create as many identical overlapping features as there are features that participate in that overlap. An overlay layer can also be used, in which case features from each layer are split at their overlap with features from the other one, creating a layer containing all the portions from both input and overlay layers. The attribute table of the union layer is filled with attribute values from the respective original layer for non-overlapping features, and attribute values from both layers for overlapping features. You can watch the demo video to explore how you can run the union tool. Generating zones of influence, suitability, or exclusion is one of the most helpful analysis methods in a geographic information system. With this method, around a set of features, point, linear or polygonal, another group of polygons is created, defined as the surfaces within a certain distance from the original entities. This method has many uses and is quite popular. For example, you can create a zone of impact around a river. In QGIS, the corresponding geoprocessing tool is called buffer. It creates buffer polygons around input features to a specified distance. This algorithm computes a buffer area for all the features in an input layer, using a fixed or dynamic distance. The segments parameter of buffer controls the number of line segments to use to approximate a quarter circle when creating rounded offsets. Sometimes it is necessary to simplify the overlapping boundaries of two or more zones. GIS allow you to make such a simplification through the well-known process titled dissolve, which removes the inner boundary lines, as you can see in the figure. Furthermore, the end cap style parameter of buffer controls how line endings are handled in the buffer, while the join style parameter specifies whether round, miter or beveled joins should be used when offsetting corners in a line. Finally, the miter limit parameter is only applicable for miter join styles, and controls the maximum distance from the offset curve to use when creating a mitered join. Check how to run buffer in the demo video. The QGIS tool Dissolve takes a vector layer and combines its features into new features. One or more attributes can be specified to dissolve features belonging to the same class, meaning that they have the same value for the specified attributes. Alternatively, all features can be dissolved to a single feature. All output geometries will be converted to multi-geometries. In case the input is a polygon layer, common boundaries of adjacent polygons being dissolved will get erased. The resulting attribute table will have the same fields as the input layer. The values in the output layer's fields are the ones of the first input feature that happens to be processed. The Multipart to singleparts tool in QGIS splits multipart features in the input layer into singlepart features. The attributes of the output layer are the same as the original ones but divided into single features. Now, let's talk about a very useful pre-analysis procedure called merge. The full name of the corresponding QGIS tool is Merge Vector Layers, and it combines multiple vector layers of the same geometry type into a single one. Optionally, the destination coordinate reference system for the merged layer can be set. If it is not set, the coordinate reference system, also known as CRS, will be taken from the first input layer. All layers will be reprojected to match this CRS. The opposite operation is done with the QGIS tool, Split Vector Layer, which splits input vector layer into multiple layers by specified unique ID field. In this slide you can see the useful references regarding geoprocessing tools and GIS in general. It should be noted that QGIS User Guide is an up-to-date and comprehensive documentation describing the various aspects of QGIS software, and as such was used as reference during the development of this lesson. This is the end of Lesson 3.2. In this lesson we covered the basic overlay geoprocessing functions in QGIS. Included the QGIS tools Buffer, Clip, Intersection, and Difference that will be used in the next Lesson 3.3, which is a step-by-step exercise that you can follow along. Thank you for your attention.